You've probably felt it before, that subtle shift where someone you care about seems just a little bit less present, a little less excited to be around you. At first, you might brush it off as them being tired or busy, but deep down, you feel it. Something's changed. The truth is, most of us aren't trained to notice the quiet, hidden signals that someone is pulling away. We focus on what they say, but we forget that communication is over 70% nonverbal. Their words might sound the same, but their body is telling you a completely different story. And when you know how to read those silent cues, it's like unlocking a secret language that reveals what's really going on in their mind. One of the first signs you might notice is in their face, their micro-expressions. These are those tiny, fleeting expressions that last less than a second, and they're almost impossible to fake. When someone is genuinely excited to see you, their whole face lights up, the corners of their eyes crinkle, their cheeks lift, their smile is wide and effortless. But when interest starts fading, their smile can start to feel more like a polite mask. It's quick, maybe a little forced, and it doesn't quite reach their eyes. You might even catch microfrowns or a slight tightening around their mouth when you bring up certain topics, signals that something you said didn't land well. Most people never notice this level of detail, but once you do, it's hard to unsee. Another powerful cue is their physical proximity. Early on, people lean in closer when they're into you. They find excuses to touch your arm or sit near you. But when interest starts to slip, their body starts creating space. They might sit further away, subtly lean back, or cross their arms or legs to create a barrier. These shifts can be so subtle that you barely register them, but your subconscious does. That's why you might leave a date or a hangout feeling uneasy, even if they didn't say anything negative, because your body already picked up that something was off. Pay attention to whether they initiate touch less often or pull back slightly when you reach out to them. Physical closeness is a key indicator of emotional closeness, and when it disappears, it usually means something is changing beneath the surface. Then there's their energy and responsiveness. Think back to how they used to react when you told a story or cracked a joke. Did they light up, laugh easily, mirror your expressions? When interest is high, people subconsciously mirror each other's body language. They nod when you nod, they lean forward when you do, they match your tone. It's a way of saying, I'm with you, I get you. When interest is fading, that synchronicity starts to break. Their reactions might feel delayed, their facial expressions more muted. They might stop matching your posture or energy level, and conversations can feel a little flat, like you're putting in all the effort to keep things flowing. Another subtle but telling shift happens with where their attention goes. When someone is deeply engaged, their body tends to orient toward you, shoulders, knees, and even feet pointing in your direction. When their interest is fading, you might notice them glancing at their phone more, scanning the room, or turning their body slightly away. This can happen without them even realizing it, but it's a strong indicator that their focus is drifting elsewhere. It doesn't always mean they're bored, sometimes it's stress or distraction, but repeated patterns of disconnection signal that something is shifting emotionally. Here's the thing, none of these signs on their own necessarily mean they've lost interest completely. Everyone has off days, and sometimes body language is influenced by outside factors, stress from work, lack of sleep, or just being preoccupied. What matters is the pattern. If you consistently notice forced smiles, increased physical distance, muted reactions, and distracted energy, it's a pretty clear signal that the connection isn't as strong as it used to be. Most people wait until the other person completely pulls away to face reality, but by learning to notice these subtle cues early, you give yourself the power to respond before things reach that point of no return. Spotting these signs is powerful, but what really matters is understanding what they actually mean, because not every crossed arm or distracted glance is a sign that someone's done with you. Humans are complex, and body language is just one piece of the puzzle. The goal isn't to turn yourself into a walking lie detector or to obsess over every little move they make. It's to step back and see the bigger picture. When you notice several of these cues showing up together, it usually points to a deeper emotional shift. Maybe their interest really is fading, not because you did something wrong, but simply because feelings evolve over time. People change. Someone might have been very into you in the beginning, but now their priorities have shifted, or they realize they don't feel the same level of connection they once did. It's painful, but it's also normal. Attraction isn't always permanent, and it doesn't have to mean there's anything wrong with you. Another important thing to remember is that these signals can also show up during periods of stress. If someone is going through a tough time, maybe work is overwhelming, they're dealing with family drama, or their mental health is struggling, their body language might close off as a defense mechanism. They're not necessarily losing interest in you, they're just preoccupied or emotionally drained. That's why it's so important not to panic the first time you notice one of these cues. Watch for patterns over time, because consistency tells you more than a single moment ever could. Understanding the psychology behind these signals can also help you feel more grounded instead of anxious. When someone is losing interest, they often feel conflicted. On one hand, they might not want to hurt your feelings, so they don't directly say anything. On the other hand, their subconscious body language starts to reveal what they can't put into words. That's why their smile might feel forced, they're trying to keep things polite even though their emotions have shifted. That's why they might lean back more, they're unconsciously creating emotional space before they create physical distance. It's easy to take these things personally, but the truth is that most of the time, it's not about you doing something wrong. People's feelings fade for all kinds of reasons: timing, compatibility, emotional readiness, or simply the natural process of infatuation wearing off. What matters is how you respond once you become aware of it. Do you chase harder, trying to win back their attention? Or do you stay calm, observe, and decide if this relationship is still meeting your needs? This is where emotional maturity comes in. Instead of jumping to conclusions or spiraling into overthinking, you can use these signs as data points. If you notice a pattern, ask yourself, am I happy with how this connection feels right now? Do I feel valued, wanted, and respected? If the answer is no, then this is your signal to either have an open conversation or to start pulling your energy back so you don't keep investing in someone who's already halfway out the door. Ultimately, recognizing these patterns is not about controlling someone else, it's about protecting your peace. When you know what these signs mean, you don't have to sit in that anxious space of guessing and hoping. You gain clarity. And clarity gives you power, because you can make decisions based on reality instead of wishful thinking. Once you've recognized the signs and understood the psychology behind them, the most important step is deciding how to respond, and this is where most people either overreact or shut down completely. The best approach is to stay calm, stay grounded, and handle the situation with self-respect. The first thing you can do is simply mirror their energy. If they're pulling back, resist the urge to overcompensate by chasing harder or trying to win them back with extra attention. That usually pushes people even further away. Instead, slow down. Give them space to come toward you if they want to. This not only preserves your dignity but also shows confidence, which is far more attractive than desperation. Next, focus on keeping your own body language open and positive. Even if they seem distant, you don't have to mirror closed-off behavior. Keep your shoulders relaxed, maintain gentle eye contact, and project calm energy. This signals that you're emotionally steady and not rattled by every little shift. Often, when people feel safe and not pressured, they're more likely to open up about what's really going on. If the pattern continues and you feel like something is truly off, you can choose to address it directly, but do it with emotional intelligence. Instead of accusing them or coming across as confrontational, try gentle curiosity. For example, you might say, "Hey, I've noticed things feel a little different lately, is everything okay?" This approach invites honesty without putting them on the defensive. And if they admit they're losing interest, you've got your answer without having to waste months guessing. Finally, remember to put yourself first. If their energy continues to drop and you keep getting signs that they're no longer invested, don't beg for attention or try to force them to stay. You deserve mutual effort, mutual care, and mutual interest. Walking away from someone who isn't showing up for you is not a loss, it's self-respect. When you act from a place of worthiness, you stop clinging to relationships that aren't feeding you, and that creates space for someone who genuinely wants to be there. Here's the truth, noticing these hidden signs isn't about becoming paranoid or obsessing over every little gesture, it's about protecting your heart and your time. When you can spot the subtle cues that someone's interest is fading, you stop waiting around for mixed signals and start taking control of your emotional life. And that is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Remember, you can't force someone to feel something they no longer feel, and you shouldn't have to convince anyone to stay. The right person will want to be there, and their body language will reflect that: open, warm, present. When you notice the opposite, see it as valuable information rather than rejection. It's your cue to pause, reflect, and ask yourself if this relationship is still serving you. And if it's not? Letting go is an act of self-love. You're not losing them, you're making space for someone who actually wants to meet you with the same energy and commitment you're ready to give. You deserve to be in connections where you feel chosen, not where you're constantly questioning where you stand. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need this reminder too. Drop a comment and tell me which sign you've noticed the most in your own life. Your story might help someone else. And if you want more videos like this on psychology, love, and self-worth, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because you deserve relationships that feel good, and it all starts with learning how to read the signs and trust yourself.